everybody, this is Dr. Heather Carton. I wanted to come outside tonight because it's absolutely beautiful here in Overland Park, Kansas. So hope you guys can hear me. The neighbors are mowing the lawn right now, but I want to beat the darkness. So I know I'm about 10 minutes early. Our normal time on Thursday nights for our Keto-Flix is actually at 7:30. It's about 7:20, so starting a few minutes early. We are also celebrating our number 10 day of our Keto Health Basics, and we are going to start dedicating each Thursday night to a specific health disease or topics that you all want to talk about. So as everyone's jumping on it, know that this video is meant to be shared. I'm not here to diagnose or treat or give medical advice. Just share current credible information based on the hundreds of questions, really literally hundreds of questions I get every single week about people's health conditions. People tend to be super concerned about what to do, when to do it, because 20 years ago when I started practicing, there was no social media. We actually had to go to the library, pick up books and read them, or we had to learn from hearsay, which isn't always the best thing, but sometimes it can get you where you want to go. So anyway, super blessed to be here tonight. Welcome everybody who's joining me. Hit that share button, tag a friend down below. We are going way back to the basics, and we are going to talk about what are ketones and ketosis. I may have jumped the gun. I got a few hundred people saying, I don't want to be silly, but could you actually just tell us what that keto thing is? Because I know you're talking about it and everybody else is talking about it, but what the heck is it? Because it's kind of all over the keto-like thing. So super simple. Our body needs basically three things to operate, correct? We must have air. We have to breathe, right? We can only go about 40 seconds, or some people can go 2 minutes without breathing. Breathing is that important. So we need oxygen, we need to breathe air. Number two, we need water. We can only go about 3 days without water. It's that important. And then thirdly, we need energy to run our body. We can go quite a long time, several days and weeks, actually without eating anything. Our body has a bunch of stored fat that it can turn into a molecule called ketones. So very simply, if we are consuming a diet which is high in carbohydrates, our body breaks it down via insulin, a bunch of other pathways, and we get a fuel source called glucose. Most of us are generally familiar with the word glucose either because of type 1, type 2, type 3 diabetes, blood sugar highs, blood sugar lows, hypoglycemia. That's all about blood sugar. Why do we have so many names for it? Because when you're drinking ketones, sorry, I read something else about ketones there. So when you are having a diet that's high in carbohydrates, your body's getting a fuel source called glucose. Glucose only lasts about 30 minutes in your system. That's why people say, well, how come I'm eating breakfast now and I'm hungry? Well, that breakfast is probably a piece of toast or a banana or a smoothie or maybe a Pop-Tart or a cinnamon roll or drive through something, and they are hungry in 30 minutes because you ate something, your blood sugar rose, and then it dropped back down, which stimulates that hunger again. But if you're eating a diet which is high in fats and super low in carbs, your body gets an energy source called ketones. Once your body runs through the glucose, which generally takes about a day, 24, 25 hours, and runs through the glycogen, which is stored in your lean muscles, then our body goes and taps in and grabs our stored fat, and our liver breaks it down through ketogenesis, which makes three different ketone bodies: beta-hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate, and acetone. So when you're hearing the word keto, it's really a ketone body, which is beta-hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate, acetone. I'll say those BHB, AC, AC, and AC. So we'll substitute for that. So BHB is the one you hear a lot. So when people say, I'm on keto, that generally means they're fat adapted, they're on a ketogenic diet, and their liver is grabbing their stored fat and breaking it down, and they're metabolically burning fat 24/7, even while they're sleeping. However, you can also be in another state where actually running glucose for most of your fuel, and you can drink exogenous ketones, and when you drink exogenous ketones, they're water soluble, your body can get in a state of ketosis as well. Not through ketogenesis, but simply through drinking pure therapeutic exogenous ketones. The state of ketosis can be achieved a few different ways. You can either get the flu and be super sick and not eat for a few days. You could get in ketosis because you run out of the glucose and glycogen. People who go on naked and afraid generally get in ketosis after a couple of days. You can go on the standard ketogenic diet, and you could actually flip your macros from the standard American diet, which is about 45 to 65% carbs, and lower it all the way down to about 5% carbs, and then run on fats. So you're eating healthy decadent fats, about 70 to 80%. So nuts and seeds, olives, avocados, chia, flax, all those yummy things, and nice fatty meats like dark chicken thighs and salmon and all those good meats actually have healthy fats, and they do have some carbs. So if you're eating a true ketogenic diet, your body will go through ketogenesis. It will break down the fat that you're eating and be in a state of ketosis. So you can get in ketosis via flu. You can get it being on Naked and Afraid. If you're a newborn baby, you're in ketosis because mother's milk is high in MCT, medium chain triglyceride, and that baby's in ketosis until you introduce some type of formula or food. You can go on a standard ketogenic diet and let your body transition into a fat burning machine. Or now the fifth way is that, or I guess there's 6 ways, now you can drink pure exogenous ketones and put your body in a state of ketosis, not through ketogenesis, but simply through drinking exogenous ketones. Ketosis means your body's burning fat for fuel. How do you know if you're in ketosis? Well, you have to test, right? How do you know if you have a fever? How do you know if you have strep throat? How do you know if you need insulin? How do you know what your glucose level is? You test it. We do the same thing when you're testing ketones. You can either test your breath through a couple different breathalyzers. I didn't grab them, they're inside the house. Hope you guys can hear me. You can also check your blood, just like people check their glucose or hemoglobin. You can also check your ketone bodies. They would register anywhere from about 0.5 to 5.5. Or you can actually check your urine, and you can buy some cheap or economical strips that come in 90 for about $10 or $12, and you simply just start checking your urine. This is the way I generally have most patients start testing if they're trying to go to true ketogenesis, get their body truly burning fat for fuel, is that we just have them start checking their morning urine, checking it throughout the day until it gets any color change at all. If you are drinking Prove It's ketones, pure therapeutic exogenous ketones, if you have more questions about that, you can private message me if you're not already using them. If you are a Prove It promoter or customer, then you can actually ask that on the corporate page. But if you're drinking pure therapeutic exogenous ketones, your body will get in that state of ketosis 99% of the time simply by drinking them. Simply just like someone uses exogenous insulin to balance out their insulin, you can drink exogenous ketones to get your body in a state of ketosis. So I want to go over the benefits of being in ketosis through ketogenesis. So that means your body's actually breaking down, because that's what the research is sharing. So the research has been going on about 100 to 100 plus years. Originally, the ketogenic diet was actually discovered for children who are non-responsive to medication, who are having seizure disorders. So think of a seizure disorder, the brain's firing, there's miswiring going on, miscommunication, so the body's constantly firing, so you're getting seizure activity. They found out that those children actually have a glucose transportation issue, which means they can't upload the glucose after they digest it. So they could eat all their foods and fruits, and then as their body broke it down, the miscommunication of fuel was not getting to the brain. But we knew the infant brain, the baby brain, in utero, and when it comes out is actually in ketosis. So if we take those children back to that ketogenic state, which was lowering the carbs and upping the fat. Now we had to up the fat in children back in the 1920s because we did not want them losing weight, right? Because when you're fat adapted, you're not using much insulin. Insulin's job is to deposit fat. So we actually discovered insulin back in the 1940s for failure to thrive babies that weren't getting bigger, weren't getting fatter. So we know that insulin's job is to deposit fat, just said very simply. So if you're on a ketogenic diet, you're not using much insulin. We want to make sure these kiddos were not losing weight, they were not failing to thrive, but still thriving, so we up their fat macros. So it's a little bit different than a person who's trying to use a ketogenic diet to lose fat. So on a true ketogenic diet, ketogenesis, when your body's breaking down that stored fat, again, we talked about it originally started for seizure activity, but take that fast forward 100 years, then we started diagnosing things like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, tardive dyskinesia, a lot of different oh, the mower stopped. It's quiet now. We got a lot of different movement disorders. So Parkinson's get like a pill roll trimmer, right? Sometimes you'll see facial tics happen with people with Parkinson's. So those are just called movement disorders, just like a seizure is a movement disorder. So if we lower the glucose to the brain and up the ketones, we knew that seizure activity would stop in children. Well, how about if we do that with someone who has like Parkinson's, tremors, or someone who has any inattentive tremors or any type of tremors or muscle movement? They found those are decreasing well, and Dr. Mary Newport was a leader on a lot of that information as she was trying to solve the own puzzle, how her husband had early onset Alzheimer's at the age of 52. So she's got some amazing books out there. I'm actually going to hide your comments right now, guys, so I can stay focused on here. So I want to talk about the benefits, because I looked it up. There's like 43 pages on the benefits of ketones in your body when your body has the access to ketones. Not to be confused with pure therapeutic ketones. These are the benefits I'm listing when your body burns a ketone body through ketogenesis. So if it's helping the brain with seizures, epilepsy, Parkinson's, movement disorders, it makes sense that your brain's going to run better. So we see people who don't have those movement disorders in a state of ketosis, maybe used for fat loss, actually find that they're focusing better, recall better. Studies are out there that people will do a paragraph recall where they'll actually read a paragraph, read it, and then they're asked to ask questions on it, and then 2 days later they ask them again to read a paragraph after they're in ketosis, and the paragraph recall goes up. So cognition goes up, recall goes up, memory goes up. We've seen this with the Navy SEALs. We put them on a true ketogenic diet now for well over 15 years. Dr. Dominic D'Agostino has been the leader of that information. So not only does it help with memory, cognition, think about our brain. Let's go to type 3 diabetes, which is Alzheimer's. I like to explain it like a peach because I'm here from Kansas. We have a lot of peach trees. When a fresh peach is brand off the tree, it's kind of hard. It's nice and supple, but not too mushy. But if you let it sit on the counter, it starts to get mushy. It starts to get wrinkly, starts to get some spots. The same thing happens with apples. Well, that's what's happening with the brain that has Alzheimer's. It's the fruit is turning to sugar. So it's type 3 diabetes of the brain. So we're seeing that as well. You guys can go Google different brains with Alzheimer's and you can see what a normal brain looks like. In an Alzheimer's brain, it's type 3 diabetes. So it makes sense if we lower the sugar intake or the carb intake and start giving it healthy fats, go back to the infant brain mortality, that the brain should actually run much better. And there's a whole bunch of sciencey stuff like BDNF factors, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factors. We can talk about autophagy, but I want to keep it simple. So it makes sense if we can get seizures to dismiss or reduce, that memory, recall, is all going to get better. And then if your brain's working better, the rest of your body works better because the brain tells all of our organs what to do. It communicates to it. So when we start to look at things like blood pressure, yes, our brain has a lot to do with controlling our blood pressure, and our adrenal glands also controls things like ovulation, thyroid releasing hormone, growth releasing hormone. There's a whole bunch of releasing hormones that come from the cortex to the hypothalamus to the pituitary. You don't have to memorize these. These are all things in your brain that tell the rest of the body what to do. So we also see that it helps with blood pressure. We also know that a ketogenic diet actually reduces and improves cholesterol. How can that be if you're eating fat? Because now your body's breaking down the fat to burn through it, so your cholesterol starts to come down. And a great book to read on that, because I am a book reader and a referrer. So Keto Clarity is a super simple book. I should do my tools thing. Let me try that, guys. It may make me backwards. Oh, I'm upside down. That's not right. And it's still not right. Oh, that's right, because my hair's on the funny side now. So Keto Clarity is a great, easy book you can read to study that. And also Cholesterol Clarity is an easy, super easy book to read. So if you have questions about that, pick those books up. You can get ebooks on them, but they're going to also tell you that on Keto Clarity, that ketogenic diet itself helps with epilepsy, type 2 diabetes. I know people think that if you have diabetes, you need to eat 6 meals a day. What happens if you're eating 6 meals a day is that you're overeating, you're over-consuming calories, you're overusing your pancreas, you're over-losing the small intestine, which uses amylase, and then you start getting a problem called obesity and insulin intolerance. It also leads to polycystic ovarian disease. I did talk on one of our days about PCOS, or polycystic ovarian disease, actually being just diabetes of the ovaries. So it makes sense that if we're reducing the sugar intake, because ketones, I don't like that view. Ketones actually, sorry, I flipped on you guys, that ketones actually reduce cravings. They actually help stabilize blood sugar. It also helps with all types of depression and anxiety. Again, Google these words, ketones or ketogenic diet, and this. I have several of those posted actually on my blog, which is up above, Ask Dr. Heather. So you'll also see that it actually helps improve energy levels as well, because if our body is not having to consume food 6 times a day and process it pretty quickly, like within 30 minutes, if you eat a banana or a french fry or a sweet potato or some stir-fry rice or protein, your body has to eat that pretty quickly and go through it, then you're going to be hungry again. You're using a lot of energy, and a lot of your nervous system is operating all day long to eat 6 mini meals a day. If you know that fats are a better fuel source, they go from 3 to 4 to 5 hours, like those logs on the campfire. We know that you're actually going to eat less because you have less craving, your blood sugar's more stabilized, you're getting about 30% more oxygen from the ketones, so your brain's going to make better choices. You're not going to have that hunger issue going on. You're not going to have the drop in those neurotrophic hormones that actually epinephrine and norepinephrine, which help us crave food. Those actually get more balanced out on a ketogenic diet. So we see energy levels improve because you're not overtaxing the nervous system. We see sleep also improve because your body can actually burn fat while you're sleeping. We know that on a carbohydrate diet, or the standard global diet, I'm going to call it now, because I've found out from many messages that I got a message from Saudi Arabia last week. They're having a tremendous issue with type 2 diabetes and obesity. I was in Hong Kong in April and learned a lot about the Asian culture having a problem with diabetes and obesity, that when we can actually start using our body fat for fuel, it takes a big tax off of our nervous system, allows our brain to get to that state of sleep. Again, think of that baby, sleeps when tired, wakes up happy and giggling, and then eats when hungry and stops when full. You can't overfeed a newborn baby. They just won't let you do it. I've had 4 of them. They won't do it even if you try to pre-feed them before you go to the grocery store. A baby simply eats when hungry. And then think about ourselves. How many times are we grabbing food when we're not even hungry? Like, we're just eating because it looks good, or because we're at a party, or because we went to a wedding. We're just actually grabbing food for no reason. So we know that on a ketogenic diet, you're less likely to overeat. You're going to have that feeling of satiety, which means you feel better longer. I'm trying to get this back to where your questions are, guys. And so and we know that also that the ketogenic diet, and I've got the book in the other room, actually also helps our kidney function from preventing things like gout. People often think that a high-fat diet is going to cause gout. We actually know gout's caused from uric acid. We know that the whole aromatase and sugar glucose molecule model, when we're eating carbohydrates, actually increases and stresses out the kidneys and decreases kidney function, what overstresses a kidney, and actually can help increase your likelihood of having gout or having gout reactions if you're a person suffering from gout. Dr. Jason Fung has got the amazing information on that, so you can reach out to Dr. Jason Fung. He's got some great videos, and he's got a lot of information on fasting, and so I would reach out to him if you have a question about kidney or gout. So I just want to give you some pieces of puzzles of kind of where to drive you. We also know that it helps a lot with women's hormones. So we talk about pre-aging with males and females, just like that peach we talked about that started to age pretty quickly, as it said on the counter. If you're eating a diet high in sugar, the same thing happens. Our face starts to wrinkle. We start to get brown spots. Nobody wants that stuff, right? That crepey skin. We know that when your body's actually in ketosis and you're consuming large amounts of fat and collagen, your body actually breaks down the fat and some of the collagen. Hopefully you're doing bone broth on your daily basis. It actually helps tighten the elasticity of the skin. It also helps reduce cellulite. It also improves the communication from the brain to the adrenal glands, the brain to the uterus, the brain to the ovaries. So you get a lot better communication about ovulation, fertilization. So you hear a lot of people using a ketogenic diet to actually help reduce their PCOS symptoms and increase their fertility, because you're letting your body go back to that native state where it's actually functioning optimally. Think of our brain, and we have 12 major organs, whether it's our lungs, our heart, our stomach, our gallbladder, our spleen, our kidneys, our adrenal glands, our intestine, our bladder, our reproductive organs. Those are all main organs. We all get the stimulation and communication from the brain, right? Because if someone's brain dead, then we don't get any function anywhere else. But yet people can have a spinal cord injury from the neck down, but their brain still function, but the rest of their body doesn't, because the spinal nerves that go down our back, I am a chiropractor, so I'm going to talk about the spinal nerves, our 31 segments. They all give nerve innervation to different organs and different muscles. So if you've ever had a baby via C-section and they did an epidural around your lumbar spine, they were able to block that pain and deliver that baby, but you couldn't use your toes, right? Your toes kind of felt funny. They weren't very mobile. You didn't have any weakness. They deadened that. That's the same thing that happens actually when we start to get disruption in the highways. Not that severe, but if you've had head trauma, head injuries, maybe organs removed, maybe you've damaged something, you've broken a rib and bruised your spleen, or maybe you've had some crisis where you've actually maybe used some hormone replacement therapy, or you've had some hormone organ removed from your body, the brain still thinks it's there. It's kind of like the phantom pain. So actually going on a ketogenic diet can help improve the neurosignaling, we call that, or the communication from the brain to your 12 major organs. So if you're a person who's having a lot of health problems, again, we have to breathe. So I always encourage belly breathing. We must drink water, half your body's weight in water. And then when we are eating, we're either feeding a disease or we are fighting a disease. So does that make sense? If we're having eggs and spinach, sauteed spinach and grass-fed butter, we're actually making our body very healthy. But if we're having bagels and Pop-Tarts and donuts, things like that for breakfast, we're actually feeding diseases like inflammation, which leads to cardiovascular disease and diabetes and cancer, because inflammation really is a leading cause of all diseases. Inflammation comes from a high carbohydrate diet. Inflammation can be anything from thyroiditis to osteoarthritis to autoimmune to cardiovascular, because that's just inflammation of our vascular system around our heart, to osteoarthritis, to any of those itises is all inflammation. We know that ketones ketones actually reduces the inflammatory cascade happening in your body. Actually, that study came out in 2015. It's called beta-hydroxybutyrate, inhibits NLRP3 inflammasome. So that's based on a true ketogenic diet when your body's burning fat for fuel with the beta-hydroxybutyrate. I do have that information post on my blog as well. So Linda's asking, so I'm going to take a couple questions here and then I'll come back and answer a few more questions. So we are seeing the ketogenic diet not only used for fat loss, that's actually just a great byproduct of it. We're also seeing it help balance hormones. We're seeing it help balance glucose and insulin because those are hormones as well. We're seeing people use it for anti-aging, people using it for memory support, cognitive support, ADD, anxiety, dementia, Alzheimer's. It's the way our body was designed. So when we look back at the caveman age, all those babies came into the world in ketosis. And sometimes they had food and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you'd shoot an elk or buffalo and you'd eat the whole thing for a day and then you might not have food for 2 or 3 days. If you lived in Kansas, then you would have blueberries 3 weeks of the year. You would have pumpkins. My uncle was a farmer, so was my dad, but I was a wheat farmer, but you would have winter wheat maybe, but not very often. But you'd have blueberries 3 weeks of the year in July. You would have squash right around October time, so 2 or 3 weeks you'd have squash. The other times you'd have to eat nuts and seeds. I have a dozen walnut trees in my backyard. So with that being said, our body would normally transition into and out of ketosis depending on what the food we had and what the supply was. They did not have refrigeration. They didn't have 24-hour drive-thrus. Didn't have grocery store open all the time. You know that there's the springtime where newborns are born, and then the wintertime where things die off and rejuvenate and regenerate. The same thing's happening today, guys. We are still all born in ketosis. Mother's milk still comes in on every single baby born when everything's functioning properly. We still come into that world that way. However, our body didn't evolve for the 24-hour refrigeration system, nor the 24-hour drive-through, or the store that has a whole bunch of processed packaged food that has who knows what in it to keep it shelf stable for, weeks and weeks on end. Now we know what we know. We know what we've been doing, feeding on a standard American diet isn't working. So the fuel source, glucose, which we've been doing, has not been doing us a big favor, right? We've seen heart disease elevate. So in 1977, the average person ate 3 meals a day. In 2005, the average person went to 5 meals a day. Not very long. And then if you look at any of the linear graphs, whether it's cancer, heart disease, diabetes, epilepsy, even just side effects due to prescription medications or accidents in the hospital, you're going to see all of those have significantly gone up, right? There was no peanut-free zone in the 80s. We had 1 nurse for our entire school district, not 5 nurses for 1 school. So we look what we've been doing isn't working. So fast forward, we've got to go back to the basics. And I'm super excited to say there is education at the drop of your hand. So Dr. Westman's book came out, I think, in 2008. He might correct me. So this has been out for well over 10 years. Dr. Nally's book, Keto Cure, came out this year. The Ketogenic Bible, which is in my room, I should have brought that. That came out last year in 2017. There are amazing cookbooks. Cooking Keto with Christy Sullivan. I've got her book because she's coming to Kansas City for Low Carb KC, so you guys get your tickets. So hopefully that helped brought a little bit of clarity, because I know I kind of jumped in on day 1 through 9 about ketones, and people said, whoa, go back. What is the ketone? A ketone is a body that your liver breaks down from fat. And yes, you can drink them. Pure therapeutic exogenous ketones is a drink, but that doesn't happen through ketogenesis. Yes, it still puts your body in a state of ketosis, because by definition, ketosis is an elevated level of blood ketones, and it exactly does that. And you can test that time and time again. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this 10-day journey on our little Keto Basics. We're going to go back to our every Thursday night, 7:30 Central Standard Time, on topics you guys want to hear about. If you've missed the last 9 days, you can replay them. They're about 5 to 6 minutes long. They're super, super short, just on Keto Basics. I also have quite a few on my YouTube channel, whether it's about thyroid or adrenal glands or PCOS, or just detoxing your house and using more things like essential oils for toothpaste and deodorants and dryer balls, all that kind of healthy living stuff. That's what Ask Dr. Heather is. Ask, act, achieve. Ask your questions. Throw me questions out here. I will go act on it. I will find the leading, current, credible information, and I'm going to help give you some tips to achieve the journey that you're looking for your own optimal health. We're all different individual amazing beings. We're all on different health journeys with different health paths. So know whatever it is that you're doing today, you have the choice to make yourself better today than you were yesterday. And this is not about being perfect. It's about progress. Progress every single day. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I am going to do a small little shameless plug. which is I am the co-chair of Low Carb KC. This is our 3rd year event. We're having, sorry, I'm trying to tap the light here because it's starting to get dark here in Kansas. We are having our 3rd annual event, October 19th and 20th. Leading speakers, all these books I have here, all these speakers will be in Kansas City. If you can fly or drive, please come in. I know Dave's already got his tickets. And so it's October 19th and 20th. You can hop right over to the Low Carb KC page. I also have an amazing 10-day keto kickstart program that I start twice a month. So what we do is we help get people into that state of ketosis. We go slow, very slow. We don't shock your body overnight. This is not like getting the flu or being on Naked and Afraid or running a marathon. This is slow and steady, reducing the garbage, teaching you and educating you how to live a healthy, full, decadent life, eating things like prime rib and salmon on sauteed spinach or bacon wrapped asparagus or amazing quiche. I'm going to go make some. I saw a recipe today for some mocha coffee ice cream. So I'm going to be making that today. I made a mud cake yesterday. If you guys haven't tried that, honestly, if you do it in the microwave, it takes a minute to mix up and it takes a minute to cook in the microwave, 13 minutes in the oven, but it is amazing and it's very low in sugar and decadent. So if you have that chocolate craving, I encourage you to scroll down. I haven't posted on my blog yet, but it's just a great thing to have. Put some shredded coconut in there. So I want to give you those hacks that you need to help optimize your life. So thank you guys for joining me. If you have questions about my 10-day, you can either go up on my blog and click over, find the information there. You can send me a private message. And if you want to pop over to the Low Carb KC page, even if you can't come to Kansas City, I want you to be involved to see who's coming. We're going to be doing a lot of filming and streaming live from there. Nothing's better than being live here in person. Amazing vendors so you can taste all the up and coming new keto low carb food that's healthy for you. And we're going to give you tools and resources and education to help you choose the journey for your body that's best for you. So you guys have an amazing day. Thanks for joining me this Thursday. This concludes my 10-day Keto Basics series. And again, I want to hear from you. I know thyroid. It is on the dock to talk about. I've already talked about it twice. I've got 2 other videos. So we're going to talk again about thyroid. Somebody did ask me about Tourette's. So I will actually answer you once we get off here. So I'll go back. And yes, Dave, I did say yes to bacon. And I think you guys heard that Ask Nurse Cindy's going to come in and she's going to tell how her family has lost 900 pounds. That's like a whole steer here in Kansas. My dad was a dairy farmer. So her whole family's lost like a whole cow. So we need to get a picture with the cow. But anyway, would love to have you guys join us. Thanks for joining me again. Don't forget to like and comment and share this page. It's free information for anybody who wants to know how to optimize their life. Have an amazing day, guys.